Golden grasslands. These are what grace California's Great Central Valley. A vast carpet of grasses, flowers, forbs, and trees all form the foundation for one of the most amazing ecosystems on the planet. The Central Valley stretches some 450 miles down the length of California. It is a land that has seen much change throughout its rich history. The valley hosts such amazing landscapes as oak savannahs, bunchgrass prairies, and meadows of wildflowers. All of these habitats are home to unique and fascinating creatures. California ground squirrels forage for seeds, oats, and acorns. The squirrels serve as ecosystem engineers on the grasslands as they excavate extensive burrow systems that are used by other animals. Burrowing owls are one of the many species that regularly take up residence in ground squirrel burrows. Unlike other owls, burrowing owls are active during the day. They are superbly camouflaged on the ground as they sit sentry outside their burrow, watching for predators. The squirrels are also on the lookout for danger. They raise their tails as a defensive display in response to a nearby rattlesnake. The ground squirrel burrows also serve as a refuge during the long dry summer. When the rainy season arrives in winter, the landscape becomes saturated and rainwater recharges the grasslands. The stage is now set for a new cast of creatures. The secretive California tiger salamander emerges from the squirrel burrow to breed. They seek out vernal pools, which are small natural depressions where rainwater collects in the wet season. The tiger salamander is a threatened species, and it relies on the vernal pools to lay its eggs. The salamander larvae hatch to become fierce predators in the vernal pool ecosystem. Dozens of species of invertebrates also inhabit the pools. The vernal pool tadpole shrimp is an ancient crustacean that has evolved within the cradle of these wondrous pools. This remarkable animal is found nowhere else on our planet, but it is endangered due to habitat loss. Perhaps one of the most threatened ecosystems in California, vernal pools harbor extraordinary plants and animals that are especially adapted to the changing seasons. As winter fades to spring, the ephemeral pools dry up, and wildflowers flood the landscape. A vibrant spectrum of wildflowers grow in and around vernal pools, many of them found nowhere else on Earth. These are California's living jewels. Perennial bunchgrass prairies can be found in some parts of the Central Valley. Purple needlegrass, with its thin feathery bristles, grows in bunches across the landscape, providing food for grazing herbivores. Although the Central Valley is often considered a region historically defined by grassland, annual wildflowers were once likely even more dominant in the ecosystem. The earliest naturalists in California described the valley as a land covered end to end with wildflowers. Winter rains would bring the valley to life, yielding endless forms most beautiful and most colorful. The flowers host tiny ecosystems all of their own. Insects and spiders carry on their daily lives within the petals of California poppies. An army of pollinators maintains the spectacular floral display, and grasshoppers graze on grass leaves and wildflowers. Predators wait in ambush as they hunt for prey. Although these amazing mosaic ecosystems of bunchgrass prairie and wildflower meadows can still be found in scattered places throughout the valley, much of it has been lost to invaders. As European colonists came to California, they brought with them agriculture and new crops. Spanish livestock overgrazed the landscape, and annual weeds introduced from the Mediterranean rapidly invaded the grasslands. These alien plants transformed much of the valley beyond recognition and permanently altered the natural ecology. Amazing and unique wildlife can still be found living in the grasslands, like these yellow-billed magpies. These inquisitive birds are valley endemics and are found nowhere else in the world. Larger animals from old California also roam the grasslands. Tule elk. These are the last of the large native grazing mammals in California, and they can only be found in scattered populations across the state. The Tule elk are the smallest subspecies of elk in North America, with bulls averaging 500 pounds. The elk are extremely important in California's grassland ecosystems because they remove the invasive plants and allow the native plants to grow. The dominant bull bugles loudly to warn off competing males. It is early September, the peak of the rutting season, and temperatures soar above 100 degrees. A large male rakes his antlers on the ground to assert his dominance and signal his willingness to fight. Small groups of young bachelor males patrol the outskirts of the herd so as not to draw attention from the large dominant male. Prior to European settlement, it is thought that over 500,000 Tule elk roamed the wilds of California. But competition with introduced cattle and pervasive hunting reduced the population to fewer than 10 individuals in the mid-1800s. However, through intensive conservation initiatives, the population has since grown to over 4,000. On the grasslands, the coyote is the top predator, capable of bringing down deer and young elk calves. Years ago, before European settlers arrived, larger predators patrolled the grasslands. Packs of gray wolves and herds of grizzly bears were reported by early explorers. Sadly, throughout the 19th century, both were ruthlessly hunted by American settlers, and both were extinct in California by the early 1900s. The savannas and woodlands that surround the Central Valley hold the secrets of ancient civilizations. Intricate rock carvings mark the sites where Native American villages once thrived. California was one of the most culturally and linguistically diverse areas in all of North America. In the Central Valley, the Miwok, Yokuts, Patwin, and Nisenan-Maidu tended the land and survived off of its bountiful plants and animals. Oak acorns were especially important in native Californian diets, as they were gathered by the hundreds and ground into flour. Ancient rows of bedrock mortars where acorns were ground and cured attest to the importance of this precious food source. Beginning in the late 18th century, Spanish missionaries began to colonize California. The native way of life would be changed forever. Over the next 200 years, increasing waves of newcomers arrived to reap the benefits of this fertile land. Settlers and gold miners flocked to the state at the great expense of the native people. Today, much of the Central Valley is largely unrecognizable to what it once was. The land is now pixelated by agriculture, and less than 5% of native grasslands and prairies remain. However, wild places can still be found in scattered patches throughout the valley, and communities of Native Americans proudly keep their rich culture and history alive. This amazing land is precious to all of its inhabitants, and we should cherish its rich cultural and biological diversity. Looking towards the future, we must find new ways to mitigate agriculture and development with conservation and habitat restoration of these vulnerable ecosystems.
For even within this land permanently changed by humans, we must see to it that there will always be wild places where grasses sway, insects frolic, and flowers greet the sunshine in California's great Central Valley.